The night sky over Earth had always been a quiet comfort to those who looked up at the stars, but tonight, it was different tonight. The stars themselves seemed to vanish one by one, swallowed by something darker than the night itself it began in, the Pacific, where fishermen at sea noticed strange shadows moving across the heavens. Then in New York, a family on the rooftop saw the Big Dipper fade as if a black curtain had been drawn over it, and in Tokyo, an old man watering his garden froze when he saw a wall of shimmering metal sliding silently across the moon. Within minutes, the news channels were flooded with breaking alerts. Grainy videos taken on phones showed the same impossible sight from all over the world. The sky was being filled not with clouds but with ships, thousands of them stretching as far as the eye could see. They were vast and alien, unlike anything humanity had ever built. Some looked like flying fortresses, others like great living beasts of steel and crystal. They moved in perfect formation with no sound, no warning, no mercy. The first voice came an hour later when every device, every television, every screen in the world suddenly went black. Then a face appeared not human. It was long and narrow with skin, like molten silver, and eyes that glowed with cold blue fire. The alien spoke in a language no one had ever heard. Yet somehow everyone understood it. The words were sharp and final. Citizens of Earth, your time is over. You will kneel or you will burn. For too long you have hidden in this small world, pretending to be alone in the dark. We have come to claim what is ours. The broadcast ended and silence followed, a silence so deep that people could hear their own hearts beating. And then the panic began. Sirens wailed in cities. Soldiers took positions. Jets scrambled into the air, but what could they do against an enemy that had crossed light years to stand over them in Washington? The president met with generals in a locked war room in Beijing. Commanders gathered around giant maps marking the incoming ships in Moscow. Old Cold War bunkers were opened again, but nothing seemed enough. The alien fleet was too large, too strong, too ready. The ships hung above the planet like predators over prey. Then, without warning, a sound came not from the alien fleet, but from deep under the Pacific Ocean, a low pulse like a heartbeat. It was faint at first, but grew louder, shaking. The ocean floor seismic sensors went wild. Scientists scrambled too. Understand it? Some said it was an earthquake. Others whispered about something older, something hidden far beneath the waves. At the same time, strange readings appeared on radar. Old satellites that had been silent for decades suddenly came online, as if something had awakened them in a small lab in Chile. An old astronomer stared at his screen, unable to believe what he was seeing. It was a code. A human code, one not used for over 100 years, and it was coming from the deep ocean. He sent the signal to Global Command, and the reaction was instant. The code was a warning, but also a call for readiness. It was short, only 3 words, but those words spread faster than fear itself. Stand by Earth in orbit. The alien commander studied the planet through his viewing screen. To him, this was just another conquest, another primitive world to be stripped of resources and bent to the will of the Empire. His people had crushed dozens of such planets before, in the Outer Rim, worlds none had ever resisted long, and those who tried were erased from history. His lips curved into something that might have been a smile in his kind as he ordered his warships to begin their descent. Massive engines lit up, burning brighter than any star as they lowered toward the atmosphere on the ground. People watched in horror as the sky turned red with the reflection of alien thrusters. Clouds boiled in their wake. Oceans churned under the pressure of their passing, but far below, under miles of water, something else was moving. Something not alien, but human. Something that had been waiting for this day for centuries. It stirred like a beast waking from a long sleep. Ancient metal groaned, and lights flickered to life one by one. Deep corridors, lit up showing empty control rooms that had not been touched by a living hand for generations. Systems ran checks, weapons powered up shields began to hum. A voice not heard in an age spoke in the Dark Earth defense protocol, one initiated above. The alien fleet slowed as they entered the upper atmosphere. Their scanners detected strange energy spikes from the ocean. The commander dismissed it as natural interference. After all, no world so young could hold technology that rivaled theirs. Yet a small flicker of unease ran through him for a moment because in his long career he had learned one truth. The worlds that seemed too easy sometimes held the deadliest surprises. Far away in a small apartment in London, a young girl sat by. Her window clutching her grandmother's hand, she asked, "What's going to happen to us?" And her grandmother whispered something almost like a secret. There is more to Earth than they know across the planet. Millions held their breath as the alien fleet moved into attack positions on the largest ship. The commander prepared his speech, the one he would give after victory, the one that would be broadcast across the galaxy as proof of his triumph. But he did not know that in the deep, dark waters, the heartbeat of Earth was growing stronger, and in places hidden from every eye, men and women were already taking their positions as if they had been waiting their whole lives for this moment, because Earth was not as weak as it looked, and the invasion was not going to go the way the aliens thought. Beneath the crushing weight of the Pacific Ocean, the ancient structure continued to wake. Its walls were made of black metal, stronger than any steel known to modern science, covered in strange patterns that seemed to shift when touched by light. Miles of corridors, stretched outward like the veins of some massive living creature. At the heart of it all was a control chamber, the size of a stadium filled with machinery so advanced that even the brightest human minds of the present age would not understand it. This was the Ark Sentinel, humanity's forgotten shield, built in an age long before recorded history, when Earth was part of a far greater stage than anyone alive could imagine. Its creators were not the governments of today, but the ancestors of mankind themselves, warriors, engineers, and explorers who had once walked among the stars, now long gone, leaving behind this silent guardian to sleep until it was needed again as the alien fleet spread across the skies. Their scanners kept catching strange pings from beneath the oceans. They dismissed it, at first thinking it was static from the storms caused by their entry. But the readings grew stronger, sharper, more deliberate inside the Ark. Sentinel dormant systems began to stir. Power surged through conduits glowing with a pale blue light. Huge turbines began to turn, pushing water away from hidden hangars. Massive gates, older than human civilization, groaned open and revealed dark shapes within shapes that were not ships in the modern sense, but weapons of a forgotten war, armored leviathans capable of rising from the depths and taking to the skies in orbit. The alien commander finally noticed the anomaly in full. His officers reported an unknown energy signature. Rapidly increasing in power, it was focused beneath the largest ocean, far deeper than their sensors could scan properly. He ordered a scout ship to investigate the sleek alien craft, dove through the clouds, slicing toward the ocean's surface like a blade, but it never made it the moment it crossed a certain point. An invisible wave of energy slammed into it. Its systems died in an instant, and it fell into the sea, swallowed whole. No wreckage, no survivors. The commander's unease grew. Humans were supposed to be primitive, barely capable of reaching their own moon. Yet this interference was far beyond anything they expected. He ordered more ships into a defensive posture around the fleet and increased scans of the planet below on Earth. Military forces were scrambling to prepare. They had seen the alien fleet's power and knew that in a direct fight, humanity's conventional weapons would be destroyed in minutes. Yet inside a secret facility deep under the Rocky Mountains, a group of senior officers and scientists were staring at a live feed from the ocean floor, their faces pale with disbelief. It was the Ark Sentinel. The old legends were true. Every nation had whispers about it, stories buried in classified files, tales of a time when humans had been something more, A time before Earth turned inward and forgot the stars. An elderly admiral leaned over the table, his voice shaking. Activated all of it at once. The order was sent through encrypted channels to hidden relay stations around the globe. Old satellites locked away in graveyard orbits suddenly roared back to life, relaying a signal down into the ocean deep within the Ark. Sentinel, the final locks disengaged, and the great machine fully awoke giant. Docking arms released the Leviathans, their hulls humming with power, ancient engines spinning to life as they rose through the water like steel monsters breaching for air. The ocean churned violently, waves the size of buildings crashed against coastlines as the first of the great ships broke the surface. Their designs were nothing like modern warships. They were angular and sleek, with glowing lines running across their hulls and weapons that seemed to pulse like living hearts within. Seconds, they launched into the air, flying faster than the human eye could follow their engines, leaving no heat trail, no smoke, nothing for alien sensors to lock onto from orbit. The alien commander watched in shock as dozens of unknown craft rose. From the oceans, accelerating straight toward his fleet, they moved with a speed and precision that was unnatural to him. Their weapons locked on without hesitation. His officers shouted warnings, but before the aliens could react, the first Leviathan fired a beam of pure white energy that sliced through one of the smaller warships like paper. The ship exploded silently in the vacuum, scattering debris into the void. The commander's eyes narrowed. These were not primitive weapons. These were something older, something dangerous. He barked orders for the fleet to regroup and target the incoming craft, but the human Leviathans did not attack head-on. They split apart, vanishing from alien sensors and reappearing at different angles, striking. With brutal precision in Washington, in Moscow, and Beijing, leaders stared at the battlefeeds in disbelief. The hidden defense system was fighting back and winning for now, but the scientists warned that the Ark Sentinel's weapons had not been. Used for millennia, some systems were unstable. They needed to finish the fight quickly or risk catastrophic failure down in the control chamber of the Ark Sentinel. The AI that ran the ancient fortress calculated battle scenarios with perfect calm. Its voice echoed in the empty halls. Enemy fleet strength exceeds optimal engagement ratio. Recommend immediate activation of Phase 2 protocols deep beneath the ocean floor. Another gate began to open, revealing something far larger than the Leviathans. Something that could change the entire course of the battle. The alien commander saw the readings, and for the first time in decades, felt something close to fear. He realized that Earth was not what it seemed, and that his invasion was no longer a simple matter of conquest. The humans had secrets, and whatever was hidden in the depths was about to rise. The alien fleet hung over Earth like a storm that would never end, its massive ships blotting out the stars and casting shadows over entire cities. The commander of the invaders watched the strange human craft rise from the ocean, his expression unreadable to his crew, but deep inside he felt something rare and unwelcome: uncertainty. The first of the Leviathans had already destroyed a scout ship and crippled one of their smaller warships in a single strike. Now dozens more were cutting through the atmosphere, moving with impossible speed. Alien gunners scrambled to track them, but their targeting systems kept losing lock, as if the human craft were phasing in and out of existence in Washington. Military commanders watched the live feeds in stunned silence. Every few seconds, one of the Leviathans would appear beside an alien destroyer, unleash a devastating beam or missile, then vanish before the enemy could return fire. The skies above Earth became a deadly game of cat and mouse. Except the humans seemed to be the cats. Despite their numerical advantage, the aliens were struggling to keep up. The commander finally snapped an order for the main fleet to open fire. Massive plasma lances tore through the air, lighting up. The night sky, entire city skylines glowed from the reflection of alien weapons striking the clouds. But most of the blasts hit nothing. The Leviathans weaved between the shots, almost dancing through the chaos. One alien cruiser finally managed to land a hit, striking a Leviathan on its left wing. The blast threw it into a spin, and for a moment it looked as if it would crash into the ocean, but the ancient craft stabilized itself in midair and retaliated with a blast so powerful that the alien cruiser split into two flaming halves, which fell into the ocean below. Boiling the water on impact, millions of people across the planet were glued to their screens, watching the battle unfold. News anchors spoke in hurried voices, while sirens wailed in the background. In Tokyo, a group of children huddled in a subway station listening to the explosions above. In New York, an old veteran watched the alien ships burning and muttered under his breath, "We're not done yet." Far above the battle, the Ark Sentinel's AI monitored everything. Its voice calm and cold, reporting to the hidden human command network, enemy fleet formation breaking, initiating Phase 2 strike pattern, Alpha 7. The Leviathans obeyed without hesitation. Suddenly, changing tactics instead of scattered hit-and-run attacks, they formed into small squadrons, each focusing on a single target. The results were devastating. Within minutes, 3 more alien warships were reduced to drifting wreckage. The alien commander slammed his clawed hand against the arm of his command chair. He had underestimated these humans for the last time. He ordered the release of hunter drones, small, fast attack craft designed to overwhelm enemy defenses. Swarms of them launched from the bellies of the alien capital ships, streaking toward the Leviathans in a wave of red light. The next moments were pure chaos. The hunter drones were relentless, darting between human ships and firing streams of molten projectiles. One Leviathan was overwhelmed, its shields collapsing under the sheer number of hits. It took seconds. Later it exploded in a blinding flash, sending burning fragments into the sea. But even as it fell, the other human craft pressed their attack, targeting the drone carriers one by one. Alien crews shouted warnings as their ships took damage. Explosions rippled across the void. The commander realized too late that the humans were using the drones against him, forcing his fleet into tighter formations, which made them easier to target deep beneath the Pacific. The Ark Sentinel detected the loss of one of its Leviathans, and without hesitation began activating more weapons systems. Massive underwater railguns rose from hidden platforms, firing hypersonic slugs into the sky. One of these shots punched straight through the hull of an alien battlecruiser from the ground to the stars. The human counterattack was in full force, but it was far from over. The aliens retaliated with orbital bombardments raining down blasts of superheated plasma on military bases and coastal cities. Entire districts burned as emergency crews raced to save survivors. The human leaders knew they could not win a war of attrition. Their only chance was to cripple the alien flagship, the heart of the invasion fleet. In a secret underground war room, a plan was forming to draw the flagship into a trap in orbit. The alien commander sensed the shift in human strategy. He could feel the battle slipping from his control. Yet, pride and the will to dominate pushed him forward. He ordered his flagship to move closer to Earth, to oversee the destruction personally. As it descended, its shadow covered hundreds of miles of ocean, but in doing so, it unknowingly entered the kill zone. The Ark Sentinel's targeting systems locked on from deep below the ocean floor. Energy readings spiked as ancient weapons charged, preparing to unleash their full power on the alien leader. Above, the commander saw the flashes of light beneath the waves and felt a chill run through him. For the first time in his long career of conquest, he realized he might be the one walking into an ambush, and somewhere in the dark waters below, the deadliest weapon humanity had ever built was waiting to fire. Across the burning skies and the trembling oceans, the people of Earth were witnessing something they had never imagined. Their world was not helpless. The hidden machines from the deep, the Leviathans from the Ark Sentinel, had risen to fight, and for the first time since the alien fleet arrived, hope began to stir. But hope alone would not win this war scattered across the globe. There were others who had been waiting for this day. Men and women trained in secret facilities armed with technology no government dared to admit existed in the deserts of Nevada. Underground hangars opened to reveal squadrons of sleek black aircraft. Unlike anything in public service, their engines made no sound. Their wings shimmered with cloaking fields that bent light itself in the frozen wastes of Antarctica. A hidden base powered up launching drone swarms, armed with railguns in the mountains of Siberia. Armored convoys rolled out of tunnels that had been sealed since the Cold War, carrying portable shield generators and plasma cannons. All of it was part of a long, buried contingency plan, known only to a handful of leaders, a plan to resist if Earth was ever invaded by a force beyond human understanding. As the alien flagship lowered into position to oversee the destruction, its sensors began picking up dozens of new threats emerging from every continent. The commander's eyes narrowed, realizing this fight was far from over. His officers scrambled to adjust targeting priorities, but the human counterattack was already in motion. The black aircraft from Nevada streaked upward at impossible speeds, breaking through the cloud cover and diving directly at the alien destroyers before vanishing from sensors, reappearing just long enough to fire devastating volleys before disappearing again. The drone swarms from Antarctica flew in tight formations, overwhelming alien point defenses with sheer numbers, while the armored convoys in Siberia set up shield walls that absorbed the blasts of alien hunter drones, allowing human infantry armed with portable rail rifles to shoot them out of the sky from orbit. The alien commander watched as his fleet's perfect formation began to unravel. The humans were not fighting like any species. He had conquered before they were unpredictable, adapting instantly to his moves, striking at weak points he didn't even know he had. Down in the war room beneath the Rocky Mountains, the Global Defense Council coordinated every strike. Military commanders from rival nations sat side by side, their voices sharp but focused. For the first time in history, all of humanity was united against a single enemy. The Ark Sentinel's AI fed them real-time battle data, predicting alien maneuvers and suggesting counterattacks. Even the civilian population was joining the fight. Engineers repurposed mining equipment into weapons. Hackers infiltrated alien comms to send false orders. Guerrilla fighters in occupied zones sabotaged alien landing parties. Every person on Earth who could resist was resisting, but the aliens were not beaten. Yet the commander unleashed his reserve forces, massive siege walkers that dropped from the bellies of the capital ships, slamming into the ground like falling mountains, each one bristling with weapons and shields as tall as skyscrapers. They began to march across cities, crushing buildings beneath their feet. In response, the Ark Sentinel deployed its own ancient war machines, colossal humanoid constructs armed with blades of pure energy. They waded through the chaos, clashing with the siege walkers in battles that shook the very ground. Every strike lit up the night like lightning. The people watching from shelters and rooftops could hardly believe what they were seeing. It was like the myths of old gods battling on Earth brought to life above the oceans. The alien flagship continued its descent, its massive shadow darkening the waters below. It was heading straight for the location of the Ark Sentinel. As if the commander had guessed the source of Earth's hidden power deep below the waves, the AI monitored the movement and calculated the risk. It sent a secure message to the human council. The flagship must not reach this location at any cost. In response, the resistance forces launched their most daring move, yet combining every remaining Leviathan, every stealth aircraft, and every railgun platform into a single coordinated strike. The plan was simple: hit the flagship from all sides at once, overwhelm its shields, and leave it vulnerable to the Ark Sentinel's main weapon in space. The alien commander realized he was being surrounded, but instead of retreating, he welcomed it to him. This was the chance to crush Earth's spirit in one decisive battle. Yet what he did not know was that the humans had laid their trap perfectly, and as the flagship prepared to open fire, the waters below began to glow with the light of something ancient and unstoppable rising to meet him. The alien flagship loomed over the ocean, its massive hull casting an endless shadow that stretched to the horizon. Its weapons glowed with a sickly red light, preparing to unleash destruction on the Ark Sentinel below. But the humans were already in motion. The leviathans from the deep shot upward, breaking through the waves with trails of foam and steam, their ancient engines roaring without sound, their hulls shimmering with energy shields. They spread out in all directions, each moving at blinding speed to encircle the flagship stealth aircraft from Nevada, closed in from above, almost invisible against the dark sky, while drone swarms from Antarctica approached from the east like a living storm on the coast railgun platforms, hidden. In shipping containers rolled into firing positions, their barrels adjusting with mathematical precision. The human commanders in the war room watched as every unit moved into place. The Ark Sentinel's AI counted down in a voice as calm as a whisper. 10-9-8. The alien commander on the flagship saw the sudden spike of energy signatures around him. His instincts screamed of danger, but pride kept him still. He ordered his ships to hold formation, confident that no primitive species could harm his vessel in orbit. The alien escorts formed a defensive ring around their leader, their guns sweeping the skies, hunting for the approaching humans. The countdown reached 0 and the trap was sprung in the same heartbeat. Every human weapon fired. The ocean lit up as the leviathans unleashed beams of white fire striking the flagship's shields. From all sides, the stealth aircraft appeared out of nowhere, dropping hypersonic bombs that detonated with blinding flashes. The drone swarms darted between alien turrets, planting explosive charges before pulling away railguns on the coast, fired slugs at incredible speed, each impact sending shock waves across the flagship's armor for the first time in centuries. The great ship's shields began to flicker under the relentless assault. Alarms blared through its corridors. Alien officers shouted in panic as systems overloaded. The commander roared for them to return fire, but his gunners could not track the human craft. They were too fast, too unpredictable. One Leviathan dove dangerously close to the flagship's surface, firing at point-blank range before pulling away, just as a barrage of plasma narrowly missed it. The humans were fighting with a level of coordination. The aliens had never seen each unit striking in perfect time to exploit the smallest weakness. Then the moment came. The Ark Sentinel's AI spoke in a tone colder than ice shields at critical engage main weapon deep beneath the ocean. The ancient fortress shifted massive panels, sliding open to reveal the barrel of a weapon so vast it seemed to stretch forever inside it. A sphere of pure light began to form, growing brighter with each passing second. The water around it boiled away, sending towers of steam into the air above. The alien commander saw the glow rising from the ocean and at last understood the danger. He ordered his fleet to break formation and scatter. But it was too late. The weapon fired a beam wider than a city carved upward through the water and into the sky, striking the flagship dead center. The impact shook the entire vessel, ripping through its shields and armor with unstoppable force. The energy tore a hole clean through the ship's core systems, exploding out the other side in a storm of light. For a moment, the flagship seemed to hang in the air, frozen in time. Then fire erupted from within its hull, racing along every corridor until the entire vessel became a burning star. Pieces of molten metal rained into the ocean, sending waves crashing toward distant shores. In the war room, the human commanders erupted in cheers, but the Ark Sentinel's AI remained silent, calculating the next move, because even as the flagship burned, the battle was not over. The alien fleet still outnumbered humanity's forces, and without their leader, they were becoming unpredictable. Some ships charged forward in rage, others broke off to flee into space. The humans pressed the attack, using their momentum to pick off the scattered alien vessels. One by one, the sky became a graveyard of wreckage, both human and alien debris falling like shooting stars over the world below. In orbit, a small group of alien captains sent a desperate signal for reinforcements. to their empire far beyond Earth, but that signal would take time to reach, and the humans intended to finish this fight before help could arrive. The alien commander's flagship finally split apart in a thunderous explosion, its remains sinking into the ocean with a hiss of steam. The people of Earth, watching from every corner of the globe, saw it fall and knew the tide had turned. Yet in the depths of space far from the battlefield, other eyes were watching ancient enemies and cautious. Allies both now aware that Earth was not the helpless world they had believed, and that humanity once again stood as a force to be reckoned with. The wreck of the alien flagship still smoldered beneath the waves, its shattered remains slowly sinking into the darkness, while smoke and fire scarred the skies above. But even as the people of Earth celebrated the destruction of their greatest enemy so far, the war was not over. Alien ships still fought fiercely in orbit, and strange transmissions began to appear on intercepted channels, messages not meant for the human ear in the war room. Beneath the Rocky Mountains, military analysts and linguists worked without rest, trying to decode them. When the first clear translation came through, it sent a chill across the entire council. The messages were not calls for help. They were warnings sent to distant worlds far beyond human space. Warnings about Earth. The alien captains who survived were reporting something to their empire that no one had expected. They were saying that the humans were not what they appeared to be, that Earth was not a young primitive world, but a sleeping predator from an ancient age of war. Some of the messages contained fragments of galactic history unknown to humanity, tales of a time when humans had walked among the stars not as explorers, but as conquerors, according to the intercepted reports. Tens of thousands of years ago, humans had built a vast empire stretching across hundreds of systems. Their fleets unmatched, their armies feared by every known species. But then, without explanation, they vanished, leaving only ruins scattered across. Forgotten worlds, the Ark Sentinel itself was one of the last relics of that age left behind to guard the home world, in case the galaxy ever turned against it. The aliens had believed the old stories to be myths until today, when they saw the hidden. Weapons rise from the oceans and the ancient war machines cut through their fleets. Now they knew the truth, and that truth terrified them. On board a crippled alien cruiser captured by human forces, an officer was interrogated by intelligence teams. The alien spoke reluctantly at first, but the longer the conversation went, the more the weight of his fear became clear. He said that in the archives of his people, there were records of battles fought against the first humans' battles, where entire fleets were destroyed in hours, and where worlds were turned to glass by weapons beyond comprehension. His own species had only survived by swearing allegiance to the human empire, and when the empire vanished, they had rejoiced believing they were free forever. The officer looked at his interrogators with something between awe and dread and told them one final thing before being taken away. The galaxy has forgotten you, but the old ones will remember. Those words spread quickly among the human leadership, and the implications were enormous. If the galaxy had truly forgotten humanity's past, then the sudden return of its strength would not go unnoticed. There would be others out there far stronger than the fleet they had just defeated, and some might come not out of conquest but revenge. Meanwhile, the Ark Sentinel's AI confirmed the alien story in its vast memory. Banks were fragments of records showing star maps to systems no longer marked on any modern charts. Battles fought so far from Earth that even the stars had shifted. Since then, there were also warnings of enemies so dangerous that entire sectors had been abandoned rather than face them. The Human Council now faced a choice: to keep the truth hidden and pretend that Earth was only lucky in its victory, or to prepare openly for the inevitable attention this battle would bring in cities across the world. The people were still cheering, unaware of the larger danger, but among the soldiers, pilots, and commanders who had fought that day, there was a quiet understanding. This was not the end. It was only the beginning. Far above, the remaining alien ships began to withdraw, scattering into different vectors, some vanishing into hyperspace, others going Dark to hide among the asteroid belts, they would carry the tale of Earth's defiance with them, spreading it to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The alien commander himself, though presumed dead, was nowhere to be found, deep in the wreckage search. Teams found no body, no command pod, nothing to prove he had perished. Rumors began to circulate that he had escaped during the chaos, possibly to lead another fleet back to Earth in the future as the sun set on the first day of Earth's true war. Among the stars, the Ark Sentinel remained silent, watching the horizon, with its endless sensors, its weapons cooling its vast mind, already calculating defense patterns for threats yet unseen, and in the hearts of those who understood the truth there was no relief, only resolve, because they knew that the universe had been reminded of something it had tried to forget. Humanity was dangerous, humanity was cunning, and humanity would fight until the very end. The smoke of battle still drifted across the oceans, while in the high atmosphere, the last pockets of alien resistance moved like wounded predators refusing to surrender, but unable to strike back with their former strength, the human commanders. In the war room knew that letting them escape would be a mistake, because every ship that fled would carry the truth about Earth's hidden power to the farthest stars and return one day with an even greater armada. It was Admiral Ross who first spoke the idea. His voice calm but edged with steel. "We make them think we are beaten." The council turned toward him in silence. The Ark Sentinel's AI analyzed his words, and then agreed with an emotionless tone, the probability of eliminating remaining. Hostile forces increases by 64% if deception is used as bait, and so the plan was born. Earth would pretend to surrender, the alien survivors would believe they had won, and in their arrogance gather close to accept the terms when, in reality, they would be walking into the kill zone. Preparations began at once. Damaged, Leviathans were moved into hidden positions and powered down to appear disabled stealth aircraft took up positions high above the clouds invisible to sensors. Railgun platforms along the coasts were lowered into the sand, ready to rise at a moment's notice across the world. Military broadcasts were sent on open channels in a tone of defeat, offering a ceasefire and terms for Earth's submission. The message was translated into the alien tongue and transmitted directly into their combands. The bait worked faster than anyone expected within hours. Alien ships began converging toward a single location over the Pacific, where the Ark Sentinel lay silent beneath the waves. Their formation was tight, their movements arrogant, as if certain that victory was already theirs. In the command deck of the lead alien cruiser, the acting commander watched the human transmissions and allowed himself a cruel smile. He believed the destruction of the flagship had been nothing more than luck or a desperate strike that could not be repeated now. With the humans willing to kneel, he intended to take the surrender personally and broadcast it across the galaxy as proof of his power on the ocean surface. A large human vessel was staged as the meeting point with white flags painted across its hull and its decks crowded with what appeared to be diplomats and officers. The alien ships descended. In slow formation, their shadows passing over the waves, the lead cruiser lowered itself until its massive hull blotted out the sun and its landing bay doors began to open. At that moment, Admiral Ross whispered into his headset. Now the ocean erupted. As the Ark Sentinel surged to life, its massive cannons bursting through the surface, sending torrents of water into the air. Ancient energy weapons lit up the sky. The hidden Leviathans rose from their false graves, firing at point-blank range railgun. Platforms along the shore emerged from concealment, hurling slugs at hypersonic speeds. The stealth aircraft dove from the clouds, dropping kinetic warheads directly into the alien formation. Within seconds, the trap snapped shut. The alien ships surrounded, their shields flaring as they took hits from every direction in the chaos. The Ark Sentinel fired its main beam, slicing clean through the lead cruiser and detonating its reactor in a blinding sphere of fire. The shockwave tore through the remaining vessels, ripping apart escorts and sending debris raining into the ocean. The aliens tried to scatter but found every escape path blocked by human forces' missiles from coastal batteries, tracked them relentlessly, exploding against. Their hulls' leviathans pursued the largest survivors, hammering them with concentrated fire until their armor failed in the war room. The Global Council watched the destruction unfold in grim satisfaction, knowing that this strike would ensure no message of Earth's location or capabilities would leave the system. The final alien ship attempted a desperate jump to hyperspace, but a stealth fighter launched a special warhead into its drive core, causing it to tear itself apart before the jump could complete. And then suddenly it was over. The sky was filled only with drifting wreckage and falling fire. The waters calmed around the Ark Sentinel as the last echoes of battle faded. Admiral Ross removed his headset, his expression unreadable, but his eyes sharp with understanding. This victory would buy them time, but not safety. In the cold silence of space, far beyond the reach of Earth's weapons, other forces had already begun to move, drawn by the faint ripples of war that had reached their borders, and while humanity had proven its strength today, Ross knew the real test had yet to come. The ocean was still littered with the burning wreckage of the alien fleet when the first strange signal was detected. It came from beyond the edge of the solar system, faint but steady, pulsing at exact intervals, unlike the chaotic alien transmissions. The humans had intercepted before this. One was precise, deliberate. The Ark Sentinel's AI locked onto it, immediately running deep scans, and within moments it confirmed the origin. The signal was human, but not from Earth. In the war room, Admiral Ross and the Council stared at the translation. The words were simple and chilling. "We have heard your call. We are coming." Questions erupted across the room. Where could it be from? How could there be humans beyond Earth who had the technology to send a signal across light years? The AI provided the answer buried in its ancient memory banks. It revealed that long before Earth withdrew from the stars, several human colonies had been established in distant systems. These colonies were lost to history when the Great Exodus ended and the homeworld went silent, but some of them had survived and evolved in isolation. The Council realized that the battle with the alien fleet had likely triggered old protocols in those colonies, summoning them back to defend the origin world. Hours later, long-range sensors detected multiple high-energy signatures approaching from deep space. The readings were massive, larger even than the alien capital ships, and moving at speeds that defied known physics. The world watched in suspense as the incoming vessels emerged from the darkness. They were enormous, sleek and black, with hulls covered in living metal that seemed to ripple like water. Their designs were unlike anything seen on Earth, blending organic curves with hard edges. Their weapons arrays glowed with a cold blue light, and their formation was perfect, not a single ship drifting from its place the moment they crossed into the system. Every surviving human and alien sensor detected the power they carried. The alien survivors, still hiding in the asteroid belts, tried to flee, but one of the new arrivals fired a single shot from extreme range, obliterating a cruiser. In a flash, Admiral Ross gave the order to open a secure channel, and a voice answered, deep and resonant, speaking in perfect English. "We have returned home for too long. We have watched in silence, waiting for the day when our blood would be called upon again, and now the call has come." Ross asked the obvious question. "Who are you?" the voice replied. "We are the children of the Empire. You abandoned the first fleet of the outer colonies. The war you fought today is only the shadow of what will come." There was a weight in those words that silenced the war room. The new arrivals did not waste time. They moved immediately to secure the system, forming a defensive perimeter around Earth, while their smaller craft hunted down any remaining alien ships with ruthless efficiency. Within hours, the skies were clear. No enemy remained alive. The people of Earth cheered at this new show of strength, but the commanders and the Council understood the deeper meaning. These allies had not come out of charity. They had come because the galaxy had noticed Earth's Reawakening and in the far reaches of space powers far greater than the defeated invaders were already preparing to move the leader of the outer colony fleet. A tall figure in silver armor later met with Ross aboard the Ark Sentinel he carried, himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had seen centuries of war. He explained that his people had been preparing for this moment for generations, building fleets, training armies, and hiding their existence from the galaxy. At large, they had intercepted the alien warnings and knew it was only a matter of time before the old enemies returned to finish what they had started thousands of years ago. Ross listened in silence as the man spoke of wars that had burned entire star systems, and enemies so advanced that even the united human empire of old had barely held them back. He ended with a single sentence that chilled everyone in the chamber. The first battle for Earth is over, but the war for humanity has just begun, and somewhere, far beyond the reach of Earth's sun, in the cold void of interstellar space, something vast and ancient turned its gaze toward the small blue planet that had once dared to challenge the galaxy and won. The days after the arrival of the outer colony fleet were filled with frantic preparation. Across the world Earth's skies swarmed with ships, both from home and from the distant human colonies. Massive orbital stations were constructed at a speed that seemed impossible, as living metal drones from the outer fleet worked alongside Earth engineers. The Ark Sentinel underwent a full refit, receiving weapons and systems far beyond anything humanity had seen, before its hull was reinforced with the same adaptive armor as the colony ships, and its engines were upgraded to match their speed. But even with this sudden leap in power, there was a shadow hanging over the Alliance, because deep space scans revealed what the outer fleet leader had warned about: an enemy force so large it defied comprehension, moving toward the solar system at a speed no natural object could match. The readings were terrifying. Thousands of ships bigger than anything in the last invasion forming an armada. So vast it stretched across a portion of the star map like a living wall. The AI calculated that the fleet would arrive within 3 weeks. The war room became the nerve center of the planet, where strategies were built and tested. Ross and the colony commanders stood side by side over the holographic map, studying enemy formations and potential choke points. The decision was made that the battle could not be fought near Earth. If even a fraction of that fleet reached the planet, it would mean the end of all life. Instead, the Allied forces would meet them near the edge of the system, where gravity fields from the outer planets and the asteroid belt could be used to their advantage. Construction ships began deploying massive energy shield generators on strategic asteroids, turning them into fortresses. Heavy weapon platforms were placed in concealed orbits, ready to ambush the enemy from above and below. Minefields of autonomous drones were released into deep space, programmed to swarm and attached to enemy hulls before detonating every human ship from Earth, and the colonies was brought into the fleet. Thousands of fighters were prepared with the most advanced railguns, missiles, and beam weapons available, and pilots trained in non-stop drills for the battle to come. When the day finally arrived, the sensors on the farthest listening posts detected the first wave of the enemy fleet emerging from the darkness. They were unlike the previous invaders, their hulls jagged like black crystal and their weapons glowing with a pulsing crimson light. Their sheer size made even the largest human dreadnought look small, and their formation moved with terrifying precision. The Allied fleet waited in silence, hidden among the asteroids, with power signatures minimized until the order came. Ross's voice echoed through every channel. "This is it. We hold the line here, or there will be no home left to defend." The moment the first enemy ships crossed the designated line, the trap was sprung. Long-range railguns hidden in the asteroid fortresses opened fire, launching slugs at hypersonic speeds that punched through the crystal hulls of the lead vessels. Fighters launched in coordinated waves, their engines igniting the darkness. With trails of light missile salvos roared through the void, slamming into the enemy ranks and detonating in brilliant bursts. The enemy reacted instantly, their frontline ships returning fire with beams that sliced through asteroids like paper. and vaporized entire weapons platforms in seconds. The shock waves rippled through space. But the human fleet did not break. They darted through the debris field, using the asteroids for cover and counterattacking from multiple angles. The Ark Sentinel led the charge, its main cannon firing a concentrated beam that tore an enemy battleship clean in half, while the colony dreadnoughts formed a wall around the smaller Earth ships, taking the brunt of enemy fire, their living metal hulls shifting and regenerating under the onslaught for hours. The battle raged, neither side giving ground, until the enemy began to push harder, pouring more ships into the fight. Their numbers seemed endless. Every time one fell, another took its place. Ross realized that the enemy was trying to overwhelm them by sheer attrition, and that unless something changed, the line would collapse. He ordered the reserve fleets hidden near Jupiter to make a flanking strike, catching the enemy in a massive crossfire. The maneuver worked temporarily, splitting their formation and allowing the human fleet to push forward. But as the colony commander warned, this was only the beginning. Long-range scans showed that the enemy's main body had not yet entered the system. The ships they were fighting were only the vanguard, and behind them, the true heart of the Armada was still advancing inexorably toward Earth. Ross stared at the readings and knew that the real battle was yet to come. The Vanguard had been destroyed at terrible cost, and the Allied fleet drifted among the shattered remains of enemy ships when the long-range sensors screamed with new warnings. The main body of the alien Armada had arrived. It blotted out the stars, a wall of black crystal hulls stretching farther than the eye could follow. Each ship a fortress in its own right, their formation so vast it warped the space around them. Even the most battle-hardened captains felt a chill run through them as the readings confirmed over 20,000 enemy warships were advancing, and in the center of the formation was something no one had seen before. A ship so massive it dwarfed everything around it. Its surface shimmered with shifting red light like molten metal, alive and angry. The AI identified it as a command world ship, a mobile fortress capable of coordinating an entire galactic war from a single point. If it reached Earth, the fight would be over before it began. Admiral Ross and the Outer Colony commander met in the Ark Sentinel's war room, and there was no need for long discussion. They knew the truth. They could not simply fight this fleet head-on, not and survive. The only chance was to strike at the heart, to cut off the command world ship and throw the enemy into chaos. It would be a suicide mission. But if they failed, Earth would burn. Ross volunteered his flagship, the Ark Sentinel, to lead the spearhead, with the largest colony dreadnoughts forming the core of the strike. Every remaining fighter was armed with high-yield warheads and ordered to focus on clearing a path for the main attack. The rest of the fleet would hold the line no matter the cost. As the enemy closed in, the void filled with the light of weapons fire beams, rail slugs, and missiles painting the darkness with chaos. Human and alien technology clashed at ranges so close that debris from shattered ships spun between them like deadly shrapnel. Fighters swarmed in packs, tearing through enemy escorts, while colony drones sacrificed themselves to intercept incoming fire. The Ark Sentinel plunged forward at maximum burn, its adaptive armor rippling under the impact of enemy beams, returning fire with every gun it had. Ross stood at the bridge calm, despite the alarms screaming around him. The colony dreadnoughts held close, their living hulls shifting to absorb the worst of the impacts as they smashed through the outer ring of enemy defenses. But the closer they came to the world ship, the thicker the resistance became. Massive alien warships locked into tight formations, forming a shield wall around their leader. Every approach was met with overwhelming fire. The first dreadnought in the formation took a direct hit from a combined barrage, its hull breaking apart in a spray of molten fragments. But its destruction opened a hole in the wall, and the Ark Sentinel dove through, weaving between blasts that could have torn mountains apart as they closed in on the command ship. Its true scale became horrifying. It was not just a vessel, but a moving city, its surface bristling with weapons towers and energy projectors. Ross gave the final order, All fighters break and attack full payload. Now swarms of tiny ships hurled themselves at the giant, their warheads detonating in waves that lit up the void. The colony commander activated a weapon humanity had never seen before, a singularity charge, a device capable of ripping a hole in space itself. He transmitted a short message to Ross: protect the charge. No matter what enemy fire intensified, ships exploded on both sides as the dreadnought carrying the singularity charge pushed forward piece by piece. Its armor was stripped away until only its core remained, but it reached the optimal range and detonated the device space itself. Screamed as a black sphere bloomed at the edge of the world ship. Reality bent inward, dragging ships, weapons, and debris into its crushing pull. The world ship tried to fire its main weapon, but the distortion tore through its systems, breaking it apart in massive chunks. Ross saw the opportunity and ordered every remaining gun to target the core. A blinding chain of explosions ripped through the alien behemoth, and then it was gone. The entire enemy formation faltered their coordination, broken their weapons fire, becoming disorganized. The Allied fleet seized the moment, pressing the attack with everything they had. Dreadnoughts rammed enemy, capital ships point defense, cannons shredded fighters, missile barrages punched holes in the larger vessels within hours. What had begun as humanity's last stand had turned into a rout. The surviving enemy ships scattered, retreating into the darkness. Ross stood on the bridge of the Ark Sentinel, surrounded by the wreckage of the greatest battle in human history. The cost had been unimaginable. Thousands of ships lost, millions dead. But Earth still lived, the outer colony. Commander turned to him and spoke quietly today. "You have won your home, but the galaxy will not forget this. They will come again, and when they do, you must be ready." Ross looked out at the distant blue dot that was Earth and knew that the age of hiding was over. Humanity was no longer prey. They were once again a power among the stars, and this time they would not be forgotten.